Today's video is about one of my most powerful ideas. It's something I used in the private sector. It's something I use daily in the workforce to be a better writer, be a better creator, to be a better marketer, and to learn new skills quickly. I call this the power of emulation. So, what does it mean to emulate a best practice, say? It means that you look at the medium and the format of a great example of something and then take this and recreate it in the context that you are being asked to perform it. Let's look at a really clear example. I didn't always know how to write a press release. In fact, I never took a class in college or in high school or anything. I never read a book. I had read press releases. I've never really looked at a press release analytically until maybe I was 24 or 25. So I had never come across the format, the medium, the say genre of a press release anywhere in my education or training up until this point in my life. So this is a kind of chaotic situation that you can be put in when you're when you're on the job. It's like, hey, write a press release. There's a couple things you can do. Well, of course, talk to your supervisor, say, hey, could I look at an example of a press release our company has done lately? And that's exactly what you should do. So then you have to analyze it. And so this is where your analytical skills really come into play and are important. It's like everything from what is the font, what is the title, how is it laid out? Was it created in a certain type of software? Is there a header? What kind of imagery is used, if any? Are the pages numbered? What is the size of the font? Is there a byline? Just kind of visually rip apart this document and analyze it. And now this isn't just for writing. I used this skill when, the first time I was asked to develop a landing page for a website. It's like, okay, give me like an hour, all right, and I'll figure this out. And this is how I learned so many skills on the job. It was putting myself just in slightly uncomfortable situations where I said, yeah, I bet I can figure this out and I can do this. And a way to learn really quickly on the job is just being willing to emulate. So look at what are called best practices. What are the kind of tried and true and studied methods that work really well? And then once you get really good emulating, once you've become an accomplished emulator and you can kind of take formats and adapt them into your own business context, and this is a great entrepreneurial skill too. It's like if you want to launch a website, what are your competitors doing? What do their websites look like? Don't steal, don't copy, but kind of twist and adapt and synthesize those formats into your own work, because they're probably operating like that for a reason. Now, here's the against this, however. Of course, some formats, some media gets old and entrenched, and the Lanier idea is that sometimes we even get locked into practices that are negatively affecting us, right? Technologies that are negatively affecting us that we've never questioned properly. So you don't want to fall into that trap either. It's like if there's something you could do better, maybe you add in different pieces of knowledge into your emulated format and you add and build something onto it. It's like don't emulate one-to-one. Add something in that is your own flavor and context, or incorporate it from your, say, the brand identity of your company or whatever it may be. It's like build on top of it. So, rewind. Emulation is a powerful tactic and skill. It's an analytical skill and a creative skill that you should work on in the private sector. And even, a lot of folks I've talked to recently said that they didn't necessarily use the word emulation, but they said they wish that their workers could learn new skills a little faster. They wish they could just look at an example of something and run with it. And that's what this is. It's emulation. It's, can you look at a piece of work and more or less recreate it, but not copy it, adapt it, and make it your own. And then if you really use this skill well, and if you really own the skill, it's like suddenly you can do just about anything. You can write a novel. You can take great photographs by looking at examples of great photographs. You can perhaps become a great artist by studying great art. You can recreate all sorts of things by by learning the skill. So something that's not particularly talked about very often, but something I found to be one of the most powerful skills that I have and that I've developed. So you look to best practices and then adapt them kind of into your own unique style. Emulation, analyze, right? Keep an open analytical mind when you're looking at documents or media, or anything, any kind of structure in the world. It's like, what are the critical components that make a house or a chair a chair? That's what you're really looking at. It's like, the old philosophical thought problems. Like if you have a hammer and you break the head of the hammer and you put a new head on the hammer, but it's the same handle, is it still the same hammer? It's like, what? I don't know. That's not exactly this, but what makes a chair a chair? If you take one leg away from the chair, is it still a chair? Well, can you sit on it? Is that what actually makes it a chair? So how do you recreate the property of sitting? So what is like the significant function of a press release? And then go down. What are the core components of it that make it function in that way? What can you take away? What could you add in? Is a chair if it has a fifth leg? Well, if you can still sit in it. Something interesting today for you. I hope you found this useful. If you like the things I talk about, subscribe, tune in, leave me some questions, some comments. Have a new book coming out next year, working on some interesting projects, so I hope you'll stay tuned in. I'm going to be making videos like this for a long time. I'm really enjoying it, and I have no lack of things to talk about, so I think I'll be here for a while. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves.